Welcome to Media Melanie TV. Today I'm back to talk about Monster, the Ed Gein story on Netflix. This is one I was very excited to watch. I just finished binging it. What initially got me interested in Ed Gein, and I mean, I love all true crime really, was my favorite true crime podcast, Morbid, who, by the way, are nominated in the Golden Globes' very first podcast category. Congratulations to Ash and Elena. But they did a 3-part story on Ed Gein. And if you're looking for a true-to-life story about Ed Gein's actual story, I highly recommend that you go and listen to that, because this adaptation took so many creative liberties and embellished so much of Ed Gein's life. It diluted the story to the point where a lot of it was not even truthful and completely fictionalized. First, I'm going to get into the things that I actually did enjoy about the series and whether or not I think you should watch it. And then I'm going to get into some of the stuff that most definitely did not work. But before I do, please go ahead, like this video and hit that subscribe button. I am trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Yes, very aggressive, but I really want to become a full-time TV content creator. So every time you tune in, it just helps me get one step closer. And plus, if you like other dark shows, I'm also talking about Only Murders in the Building, Task on HBO, and Gen V. Additionally, coming up later this month, I will be covering the Telemasca, It, Welcome to Derry. In November, Maxton Hall on Prime Video, and Fallout in December. Plus, who knows what other shows are going to be announced. So stick with me for all of the TV talk. But first and foremost, I would like to highlight the incredible performances of Charlie Hunnam and Laurie Metcalf. Charlie Hunnam must have literally trained for this role for I don't even know how long, to be able to capture Ed Gein in this way with his mannerisms, his speech, his body language, even the looks, the way that they created this character and his visual appearance. Every single thing about this, I think it could actually end up earning him an Emmy, even though I think overall the series fell pretty flat for me. Charlie Hunnam deserves recognition because this was not an easy role to pull off by any stretch of the mind. Not only just because Ed Gein was quite the interesting character himself, but also because the content here is a little bit horrific. And when I say a little bit, actually, I mean a lot. Because between the perfectly preserved vulvas, the grave robbing, him getting it on with an actual corpse, and then his girlfriend getting in the ice bath because he wasn't very into it and needed her to be colder. There were so many moments here. I was almost ready to look away. Him wearing the skin suits, the nipple chair, the heart in the pan. I mean, seriously, I actually wanted more of that. I wanted to see more of what he actually did in real life and actual things he did, not just fake things. And I'm going to get more into that later. But I also think it would have been nice to see a little bit more of Laurie Metcalf, and I think they could have potentially accomplished that by maybe having more flashbacks to his childhood, and I guess maybe they would have had to cast somebody younger. And either way, I just wanted more Laurie Metcalf. She played Augusta Gein to a T. She was so unhinged. And along with Charlie Hunnam, I would love to see Laurie Metcalf get some recognition for this as well, because these two actors completely deserve it. They were the highlight of this entire 8-episode series, and they were really the biggest bright spots for me overall. But again, I would have liked more context into how Ed Gein got this way. Yes, he had an overbearing mother. She was obviously very against fornication and men in general. She only got with her husband a couple of times. And we did see that relationship and how that sort of helped Ed Gein, I guess, get to where he was. But really in the long run, Ed Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia. A lot of this was mental illness, and a lot of it also the circumstances of his environment. And I'm not saying that makes any of what he did justifiable by any stretch of the mind. But I think if they had been able to show us a little bit more context about the relationship and again, just given us more Laurie Metcalf, I think that would have made a difference. But another part is I don't think this show needed to be 8 episodes in general. For me, they could have told this story, left out a lot of the embellishments, and got to the same point in 4 to 6 episodes. Honestly, I think 4 would have done it because all of these extraneous things, like what is Ryan Murphy thinking here? If we're telling the story of a serial killer, can we not just stick to what actually happened to give us a true perspective of this very disturbing man, Ed Gein. First and foremost, Ed Gein was only confirmed to have killed 2 people, maybe 3, potentially his brother. Obviously, they showed that he did kill his brother here on the TV show, but we don't know if he did or not. I mean, yeah, it's very possible. But all of these other murders, the chainsaw thing, never happened. Killing a nurse in the institution, never happened. Killing the babysitter, never happened. Yes, she was a real-life person who actually did go missing, but Ed Gein had nothing to do with that. So the fact that they're literally just making things up left and right here, that did not sit right with me at all. I wanted more of the grave robbing. I wanted more nipple chairs. All of that stuff was so very horrifying. I think showing us more of that would have really shown more about the truth of who Ed Gein was rather than making all of these things up. Now, his girlfriend, Adeline, she was actually a real person. But the thing is, she downplayed her relationship with Ed after they had initially published a story about her. So it's hard to say exactly maybe how involved she actually was with him, but she basically played it off like, we only had this kind of short relationship. He asked me to marry him. He was a very nice guy, etc., etc. She played a very prominent role in the TV show. That fictionalized Liberty maybe wasn't quite as alarming to me because at least it was somewhat based in truth. But like the babysitter, okay, yes, Ed Gein did babysit for kids, which is just absolutely appalling to me in general, but why make up the fact that he killed the babysitter? Okay, I get it, dramatic effect, all of the tension, all of the horrifying crimes, but for a guy who only really killed 2 people, they made him out to be much more of a serial killer than he really was in real life. And let's talk about some of these other storylines they had going. The whole Alfred Hitchcock, Norman Bates thing, and then the Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre situation. Now, Tobe Hooper has said he actually got inspired by the whole chainsaw of it all by standing in the department store during the holidays and thinking about cutting everybody up with the chainsaw. And they did show that in the show. And yeah, maybe Ed Gein loosely inspired that, but I don't think it was necessary to have these 2 storylines about the other movies and pop culture references that played into Ed Gein. I don't know. I don't think it was necessary. It didn't naturally fit into the story. It felt very separate for me. So yeah, while there was some inspiration for Norman Bates and Leatherface, why did it have to become such a big part of a story that was supposed to be centered on Ed Gein? Serious question here. We know Ed Gein inspired Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, and maybe we could have had a little bit more of that, I guess, but all in all, I don't think any of that was necessary. Another thing that was definitely true, he was very much into the Nazi war criminal literature. Okay, fine. Let's show the comic books, okay? Do we need to bring the Nazi war criminal Ilsa to life and have all of these other scenes? Again, I just don't think it was something that we needed at all. What did you guys think? Did you enjoy all of this extra movie content in there? What did you think about the Nazi stuff? I hated it. I hate Nazis. I didn't love the story. I don't think it was necessary to paint the picture of Ed Gein that they, again, could have painted without a lot of this extra fluff. And can we talk about the dance number at the end? When Ed Gein was in the psychiatric facility, like, what are they doing? That was almost reminding me a little bit of Ryan Murphy's Grotesquerie, which is really one of the most unhinged things I think he's ever done. And yeah, Ryan Murphy's done a lot of crazy things. American Horror Story. We all know the earlier seasons were much better than the later ones, unless we can get Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters back, which, by the way, they did tease at the Emmy, so fingers crossed for that. Grotesquerie was a complete mind F. A lot of it felt like, what am I even watching here? And I had a lot of that same reaction during these 8 episodes of Monster. And I think the most glaring one is that, again, Ed Gein was only confirmed to kill Mary and Bernice. All of these other deaths never happened. I can't get over the fact that they just made shit up about an actual person and killer who, yes, quite notorious, but did he ever talk to other serial killers? Or the Mindhunter team? Oh my gosh, you guys. When they brought in the fake-ass Mindhunter people, I almost lost it. I'm like, what are they actually doing here? First of all, not even the real actors. But that said, Jerry Brudos, the shoe fetish killer, was played by Happy Anderson, who actually reprised his role here. So that was the only true connection to Mindhunter. But all of that other stuff never even happened. And for anybody who is not versed in the Ed Gein story and you're just watching this thinking that this is all fact, I think it is just inherently wrong that Ryan Murphy did this to viewers. I don't have a lot more to say on it, but I felt compelled to come on here and share a video. Also as a PSA to let everybody know, again, if you're unfamiliar with Ed Gein, a lot of this stuff is not even true. So I encourage you to go and listen to a Morbid podcast, check out their 3-parter on Ed Gein to get some actual facts about who this man was. And one thing I think was interesting, the way that they portrayed him was in a humanistic way. And not that you feel bad for him. I mean, obviously the guy's like stringing up bodies in his barn and getting all of the innards out. I mean, a lot of this was horrific and disgusting, but ironically, that was my favorite part. I think the lie detector scene was something interesting too, because he really didn't think he was lying. With his diagnosis of schizophrenia, it is hard to tell or discern. Maybe some of these things were hallucinations, but some of them clearly were not. The chainsaw thing, I mean, the detectives truly questioned him to ask if he killed those 2 men in the woods. It showed us him killing them. Maybe it was something that he could have imagined, but the way they played it off in the show, it did happen. And again, the babysitter didn't actually kill her, real life person who was killed. Why are we making things up here, Ryan Murphy? I am not okay. My favorite part was all the horrific stuff. I loved seeing him dancing around in skin suits, wearing women's clothing. That's the heart of who this man was, and I think they should have honored the character here more. And again, that said, Charlie Hunnam, Laurie Metcalf, these 2 knocked it out of the park. Absolute masterpiece performances. Could not have cast better people to play Augusta and Ed. And that was really my favorite part, and the most entertaining part was watching these 2, especially when they had scenes together. I mean, the skeleton sitting in the rocking chair, absolutely wild. But another thing I didn't necessarily buy, the whole Adeline thing, right? If I was a person who saw a nipple chair in somebody's house and then figured out that the dead mother was there, would you have come back to that? Are you kidding me? Are we supposed to believe after all that she's coming back? Yes, they did also paint her to have some psychological issues, which, came out at the end there. But even with the most disturbed of people, I don't know. I just still have a really hard time believing she would have come back for that. So a lot of it, yes, is fictionalized, but I'm also curious to hear what everybody else thinks. I would love if you drop your thoughts on this season of Monster. How would you rank it with the other monsters? I'm going to be honest. I did not watch the Menendez brothers. I watched part of Dahmer and then I just kind of stopped, even though I do like Evan Peters. I don't know. That season just fell flat for me. And the next season of Monster is going to be Lizzie Borden. They said that at the end of episode 8. That is one that I might end up watching as well. I think she's got a very interesting story. But also Lizzie Borden is from Fall River, Massachusetts. I grew up not far from there. So for me, the geography of it all is definitely going to at least buy me in for part of it. But it also makes me wonder, what liberties did he take with the Menendez brothers and the Dahmer story? For anybody who's watched, please do let me know. But it makes me not trust Ryan Murphy, even for the Lizzie Borden story. I'm going to have to do my research on her again before I watch to figure out, why is he lying? Is he going to lie? Is he going to portray her story to be credible and realistic? Or is he going to go completely off the rails like he did here? So please let me know all of your thoughts. I'm dying to know, am I alone here? Or did you find the fictionalization and embellishments to add to the entertainment and the drama of the series? Again, I think this could have been 4 to 6 episodes, told the true story of Ed Gein without all of this other stuff. That's about all I've got on this, but I will be back very soon with more TV talk, and I hope you stick with me, so please do hit that subscribe button. Media Melanie, clicking off.